Welcome to Georgia, everybody.
That's entertainment.
So we are Entertainment, Arts, and Sports. According to Mike Hobbs, we are the fun IP. I heard about it. So, but we have the same barriers that have been mentioned today. And I'm really impressed with everyone that has spoken so far today. And I really liked what Joyce Ward said, and she said we are stronger together. So we are stronger together as entertainment, arts, and sports, but we are stronger together as USIPA and GIPA and GLIPA and KIPA. And we are stronger together, and that's what this is all about. This isn't just supporting your organization or your expertise. This is us supporting each other. This is Scott Frank's vision, and he has made this happen today. So our vision of Entertainment, Arts, and Sports is to advance entertainment, arts, and sports within the United States. But of course, we'd like to advance it throughout the whole world because we care so passionately about it. So we have a committee, and I'm going to just mention those that couldn't be here today. They might be on remotely, so as was said earlier, if you are remote, stand. Just kidding. Jack Bernard of University of Michigan is on our committee. Roy Kaufman, he's Business Development and Government Relations for CCC. Keith Kupferschmidt, I think I said that right. Copyright Alliance. David Lowry, he's a UGA professor, celebrity artist. You may know him as the founder of Camper Van Beethoven and the band Cracker. Lita Rosario Richardson, she's with Schulman Rogers. And David Sohn, he's former CDT General Counsel, Copyright Creativity, George York, Recording Industry Association of America. I'm Peggy Still Johnson, I'm one of the co-chairs. This is our other co-chair, Bruce Siegel. So we will start with Bruce. And could you just introduce yourself, Bruce? And you all have our bios in this wonderful Whova app, which I love. So we'll just give the hits. So if you could just introduce yourself and then talk about how you got started, and then we'll just go around the table.
Sounds great. Thank you, Peggy. I will not read my bio. You can read it yourself. And I will just say in a nutshell that my start in my road as a young attorney who got involved in intellectual property and in the sports world, after having grown up in a college town, working at a television station, kind of had been around sports my whole life. It was probably natural that I ended up taking a position out of law school a little bit different than the standard direction, which is I went straight in with what would now be termed a startup, and the idea of helping colleges, universities, collegiate institutions, other sports and entertainment properties understand their intellectual property rights. When we started, not many colleges and universities even understood their intellectual property rights, and so we began by working with schools in the 80s to explain that all of these mascots and logos and nicknames and seals and symbols that have been floating around campus, either on the football or basketball or gymnastics arenas or in the bookstore, hey, this is valuable intellectual property that you should be protecting and that you could license, and maybe through this combination, have some success both in protecting your brand image and maybe making some dollars in royalty revenue. And so in the beginning, we had a big task. We had a great concept, a great idea. It was a football coach, Bill Battle, who played for Bear Bryant at Alabama, later coached at Tennessee at age 26, and then sort of fortuitously he got run out of Knoxville, but ended up starting this collegiate licensing business. And so the collegiate licensing company, really founded the idea and executed on developing a trademark licensing program for colleges and universities. At the time, this was intellectual property that had not huge process involved, and we couldn't just call people or write a letter and say, hey, we know that you've been using these marks perhaps and selling to the bookstore, but the game has changed. Now you need to sign a license, now you need to get product liability insurance, and you need to pay royalties. Now, a lot of them didn't think that was a particularly good deal, but we had to educate, we had to be persuasive in, again, explaining the concepts, explaining trademarks, explaining that there was precedent for this, and that the mark was still valid. So it was education, persuasion, coupled with, where necessary, hard-knuckle enforcement and even litigation to back up some of the claims that we were making from a trademark perspective. So I grew up in that space. I currently work at a law firm, Greensmith and Martyr, where after, again, having gone through and the founding member of the Collegiate Licensing Company, I'm now in private practice helping both universities and brand protection, helping licensees navigate the licensing process, and working on sort of the newest piece of intellectual property that has emerged, at least in the collegiate environment, and that is name, image, and likeness. And that's, if you talk about the importance and the need for education, as of a little over a year ago, after decades of the NCAA saying to the student athlete, not saying you necessarily don't have a right of publicity and you can't protect your name, image, and likeness, but you can't if you want to be eligible as an amateur athlete under the NCAA rules. Then through a set of circumstances and sort of confluence of events, including some antitrust cases, some states basically coming in and taking the position that in our state we're not going to allow athletes to not be able to exercise the right of publicity rights, and just public pressure, the NCAA all of a sudden changed its position, but without a lot of guidelines. And so we're in a situation now where the good news is student athletes throughout the country, whether elite football players, whether they're women's gymnastics, volleyball players, basketball players, they have the opportunity and they're unfettered in their ability, if they want to enter into licensing, sponsorship, enforcement deals to allow others to use their name, image, and likeness. That's the good news. The bad news is there's, how do we go about this? It's as if the collegiate world gave the student athletes the keys to the car, but didn't necessarily tell them how to drive. And so it is a world where you're looking at the importance of protecting your name and image, your brand identity. The good news is you can go out and do good deals. The bad news is you need to do it right, or else you can make mistakes that get inure to your detriment for years to come. So I think that certainly dovetails into the importance of the educational component of what this organization is doing, and it certainly applies to individuals who are looking to make.
Awesome.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm up. My name is Mala Sharma, and I started my career on the enabler side as a 30-year veteran of the music industry. I've worked with producers, Rick Rubin, Brendan O'Brien. I ran a record label, and as the music industry was shifting and changing, I've kind of shifted and evolved to more of the protector side now. Not an attorney, but I advocate on behalf of artists' rights and the creative music community, mostly through an organization that I helped found here in Georgia called Georgia Music Partners. We're an advocacy organization for the music creators and the enablers. And so I think going back to what Bruce was saying, one of the things that has come up more recently within the music industry is this name, image, likeness for musicians as well, especially the side musicians. And whereas, it shifted to some degree on the sports front, not for collegiate athletes, we're in a situation right now where technology is coming in and making what is being used of your brand as a musician. And again, I think the same thing applies, is education there is really key in, in informing the creators on, best practices and how to do that with a community that typically, does not keep up to date on IP issues related to the arts. So,
Hello, everybody. My name is Julio Mejia. I'm a visual artist from New Orleans. I was born in New Orleans. So we definitely didn't know what IP was. And I started, or my experience with IP was 16 years ago when I stepped on a lot of toes. All my installations were like, this against IP, this against copyright, this against this. And if I would have known what I know now after 16 years, I think the communication, we could all have an agreement. So that's where I'm at, trying to bring my art family full understanding of IP, especially when it comes to the Fair Usage Act. The first toe I stepped on was Conchictora. There's no lawyers for Conchictora, right? Top 10 importer or exporter of wine in the world. So they crushed me really good. But I still love it. I still drink it. On my birthday. But a lot of my friends, they had to destroy a lot of installations because of IP. And again, I think it was communication. We don't really look at that as well, at least some of us don't look at it as important. But again, now that I spent 16 years trying to get as much knowledge as I can of this very challenging, topic, I guess, or gray areas of, when I said Fair Usage Act, I think we could help and stop this. Just this year, a friend of mine, she did a Warhol Basquiat painting and destroyed it. And I would have done anything for that painting. And I destroyed Disney paintings of 8 foot tall because of IP. And the lawyers or the litigation team had all the right. So again, it's just about having that knowledge to be creative and to enjoy our profession. We're not the brightest people in the world. So
I want to just chime in real quickly. You'll see it in his bio. Julio started a fine arts center in Sparta, Georgia. He just bought this historic building out of the blue, and it's a place where artists can congregate and they can share their work. So he's very passionate about that.
Well, I'll dispute the claim that the artists aren't the brightest in the room, because the Copyright Office, we think that copyright begins with a spark, and it is that light and creativity and brilliance that makes all of the work that's produced. To help to bring that knowledge that you talked about and that cooperation and communication that you talked about to people who really need it. So my background is on the creator side. I grew up as someone who thought she wanted to be an artist or a designer or a dancer, much like I think a lot of people in this room could be. If I had to guess, there's at least 10 people in this room who thought they were going to be a musician, and then their father said they had to get a real job, and they became a lawyer. So I just want to show of hands for anyone who's ever wanted to be a musician in the room. I'm seeing a couple. So my first legal part of my career was running the Philadelphia Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts, which is one of many really fantastic organizations that is based on that public-private partnership feeling, where you have lawyers in their regular corporate jobs identifying that there's a part of themselves that really cares about this creative community, this spark of intellectual curiosity that artists have. Not only in IP law, but a lot of cases that we worked on had to do with just property rights in general. They could be anything from real to personal to intellectual property. Relationship between people when they're working out how to make a nonprofit arts place, how to bring people together, the contractual relationships that you have, and the scientific explorations you may have as a part of your work as an artist too. So, as my background before I got to the copyright office, I was wearing two hats. One is a lawyer who used to be an artist and recognized that my job was really on the protector side rather than the creator side. And one is a business manager of this program, and thinking about how to run it, how to connect it to things, how to connect people, and how to deal with things like making that a sustainable effort. From there, I moved to the Patent and Trademark Office, where I ran a program that helped do capacity building and awareness building around IP systems. And Director Vidal referenced earlier with the IPS days and the work working with other countries on their own systems, and that's a program that I was part of there. And one of the things that came out of that work for me was how exciting it is, how many people are excited about helping creators and inventors around the world in multiple sectors to get the information they need when they need it. So my current job in the protector space is as Associate Registrar of Copyrights, the Director of Public Information and Education at the U.S. Copyright Office within the Library of Congress and the legislative branch. This office that I'm privileged to inherit provides authoritative information about copyright law to the public, implements the office's communication plans. We publish comprehensive written and audiovisual information like the compendium, circulars, videos reaching a lot of different audiences, and a lot of print objects that can be dropped, like what musicians should know about the Music Modernization Act, for example. As a background of all of this, I'll just note that some of the earlier panels talked about access to justice, access to the system, and how important it is to have people who are protectors, both in the private and public sector, thinking about the range of resources and range of sophistication that people might have and how to meet them where they are. So I'll leave it there, but I just wanted to make the point that I think within everybody who's in the room, part of you is that inventor and creator, and part of you is that protector or enabler, and you see that part of each other when you work together, and I think that's very powerful.
I love that you mentioned the Music Modernization Act. Mala and I are friends. We've been to D.C., we've talked to politicians, and we finally got that thing passed. We're very, very happy about that. I remember sitting with John Lewis, and he said, "Tell me about this bill." And he said, "Yes, I support it." That was a really great moment. I see we have Vincent Castellucci on the screen. Vincent, can you hear us? Can you introduce yourself and tell us how you got started in the industry? Can you hear me, Vincent? Okay, Vincent, when you can hear me, or Charles, just maybe you can email him. Just tell him to just start talking, and I'll just keep going. Okay. All right. I wrote down here something that Esther Lim said, Jenny Simmons said it, Jay Swartz said it, that we need more pro bono support. Yes, we artists. You may see Katy Perry and some of these others. That's a very small group of people that make all that money. The rest of us, the creators, even if we earn a good living, many times when there's litigation or somebody we're fighting for the rights of our song or our film or our screenplay or whatever, we may need that support. So we want to interject that we agree, and we hope that that's something that we can work towards. So I represent the film industry, and I'm a producer, composer, music supervisor, casting agent. Don't pay me for. So, I've done a little bit of everything in the industry, and I love it. And I started my own post-production company working on the music side, and then I worked with Go Media Productions, working with them, they've been great mentors to me on how to fund and distribute films. So that's a little bit about me. So moving forward, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce to ask the next question.
Thank you, Peggy. Okay, so the next question is, it relates to, kind of a changing world, changing times in entertainment and arts over the past 5 years, in terms of how content is distributed, NFTs, and artwork in connection with that, as well as protection of intellectual property in the context of the metaverse. And these have certainly impacted, how we've had to adapt with IP rights, licensing, and protection. How has your specific industry or organization adapted specifically, and looking into your crystal ball, what can happen over the next 5 to 10 years? Can I start with you, Peggy, and then Molly?
Can you hear me?
And then Julia.
I would say that technology has enabled everybody to be a filmmaker and everybody to create their own record. And that also opens up to issues. So there seems to be difficulty in distribution, in funding, in protecting your rights. For example, from the beginning of time, really, it was that if you had a project and you went to LA, chances are you probably gave up your rights to have your film made, or you gave up the rights to your publishing to get your record made. Sylvester Stallone is a great example. He does not have any ownership in the franchise Rocky, which has earned over $1 billion. So that kind of tells you, just like we hear the other sectors of not being treated fairly, yes, it's a business, but at some point, you can give up some of that $1 billion and give Rocky some money, right? So, but those are things that are not changing, but the changes are that anybody can be a creator, and we have better chances if, for those of you who have maybe watched the TV show The Chosen, that was like funded by the people. And that's happening a lot of Kickstarters, a lot of documentaries, people in the room are making films. So it's very exciting. We all have a voice, and we all are storytellers. With that, we see, through technology, the opportunities, but we still see the barriers.
Sorry about that. I'll just kind of riff off of what Peggy said. This, as she mentioned, albums are recorded on this. So I started my career where recording sessions were upwards of a $500,000 budget to make an album in a studio, and now people are making Grammy Award-winning records on this. And it's great. The barriers for entry have come down, but the number of songs released out there, and you can easily stream them on one of the many platforms, but artists don't know that had they not registered their songs, they're not protected. But, I think through efforts with the Recording Academy, the RIAA, with Miriam's team there in the office, I think a lot of that education is getting out there to the people, and we're starting to educate musicians and creators at a much younger age now, and high school classes are learning about it. But I think the biggest sort of advancement on the music side was the long overdue passage of the Music Modernization Act, which both Miriam and Peggy touched on. The laws protecting copyright prior to that were written specifically for sheet music, and so it was that old when that was the most valuable form of music. And so I think that the Music Modernization Act has helped find ways to protect music in this streaming world that we're in right now. I think that in the next 5 years, there will be more changes as AI with regards to live music, virtual performances, and where and how do we protect, you know, some of the music and creative, the branding images of these musicians.
Yeah, some of the protections that are, some of the protections that are in place are really for the big studios,
They are.
not for
The record labels, yeah. Miriam, okay.
No, thank you. You know, I don't know if I'm answering the question correctly, but in the next 5 years, I have a couple of projects. One is has to do with Albert Einstein, and the other one with my grandfather, Gabriel Chulo Clausi, who was a director of tango bandoneonista. He wrote 850 tangos. My great uncle also wrote around 800 tangos. These were the founders. And I spent some beautiful time with them, and my master was still with us. But to get to the copyright, and you know, I love what you said about was it intelligence, you know, how wonderful would it be to bring their lives, their image through something modern like that. So that's one thing I would love to do is be able to do this and not have those challenges. So once again, this is where this family of intellectual property could help other artists like me. When it comes to you know, Einstein, within my family, we have Victor Nolan de la Torre. He was the founder of the Democratic Party of Peru, which is still the Democratic Party of Peru. But as you know, we love schools and things like that. So he had to hide in the Colombian embassy for 5 years. But Albert Einstein was very good friends with him.
It's on every spotty.
Peru.
Can't hear anybody.
But this is something
It's
that
breaking
people
up.
don't know. But the foundation
We did. It's just that it's not
not
true right now.
use that name, or even in my case, I would like to emulate some of his works and you know his actual figure. So these are things that we help each other. Because it's a shame that I'm on you know one of the last chapters, I guess, and I'm not going to be able to fulfill something that's in my family legacy, and nobody will ever know about it. I don't know if I answered any question.
That was really amazing. You want to talk real quickly, just briefly, about metaverse? You know, you've talked a little bit about that, like paintings. You know, you could maybe have a painting in Steve Jobs' house, right? Virtual.
I was offered this. My dad really wants me to try it. It's so old school. You know, I probably have paint on me right now. I just, I paint, I create, I grab things, I mess things up. But the beauty of the what is the metaverse? Is a lot of friends of mine that took their works to the next level. So right now I'm looking at something like creating tangible, you know, the actual product, which is paintings. Maybe do them on paper. And, you know, also do it as a, what do we call it? NFT. So you'll have a choice. Would you like the original work? Or would you like the NFT? And if you want the original work, the NFT will no longer exist. So, you know, kind of give you an option. But me, once again, I haven't quite reached that level. But I admire the artists that have, because it's amazing. My gallery has, I don't know if I can say it, but dealing with Microsoft, it's just amazing what you see. I've seen my paint, you know, you see the paintings as if you're there. So, you know, to me, it's almost like when I was a kid and daydreamed about being around the Jetsons and stuff. To me, that's how I see the whole, but it's beautiful.
I love that.
Well, thank you. I think what some of what we've heard is, you know, that dialogue between the community that is inspired by and uses the creativity and innovation of others, and then that becomes part of one's own original work understanding that there's a life cycle of creativity and innovation in all areas of IP, really, but it's talked about a lot in copyright, of course. I take a couple steps back to the question just about responses to change, the ways in which the sort of the systems respond. Some of them have been changes to laws. We talked about the MMA just a little bit. I also want to mention the Case Act and the Copyright Claims Board that opened in June of this year, which is the first small claims intellectual property venue for dispute resolution in the United States. This is something that exists in other countries, but hasn't been here until now. And as both the claimant and also the respondent, it's a relatively fast, easy, cheap way to voluntarily resolve a dispute without having to go to federal court and wait. And I'll just point out that declaratory judgments are remedies that are available there. So if you're interested in knowing whether you do own something or not, that can be somewhere that you can go if you're looking for claims underneath $30,000 or so. So again, more information on our always updating to respond to change websites and resources. The CCB, as we call it. So some of the other changes haven't been to legislation and to process at the Copyright Office. One of which is just an examination of all of the systems behind the process of registering copyrights and looking at recorded transfers of portfolios, and the Enterprise Copyright System first module, which was on accreditation, has been in pilot for a while, and some of you may have been part of that pilot and helping to develop it. We're very interested in shifting to a kind of continuous development mentality where we can look and see what are the best ways to run this and how do we continuously develop that to make sure it's responsive. So the good news is that pilot moved into being open to the public now. So if you have registered a copyright and you're looking to record your ownership or the transfer of that ownership, it is now possible to do that entirely digitally, whereas prior to the pilot and prior to August, that was still on paper. The Copyright Office has now moved into this century, and we have made everything, mostly everything, virtual. So it is cheaper, faster, easier to work with us, and we're really happy that that can help expand that access. So that is one practical way, I think, that we look to respond to change. About looking to the future, I'll just note that one of the things we do want to see is people really finding themselves in their place with their copyright. And if in the future you are in the DC area, we have an exhibit around that we'd love for you to come visit. So we're on the 4th floor of the Madison Building in the Library of Congress, and I'd be happy to get my wonderful staff to give you a tour, and you can learn about Statue of Liberty, Kermit the Frog, Dolly Parton albums, any number of interesting pieces from the collection and their story through creation, licensing, derivative works, just a whole shebang. So we'd love to have you. Thanks.
I love that. And I love the process right now. It used to be so hard to get your songs copywritten or your albums copywritten. And now you just go online, credit card in, and it comes in the mail. It's like so wonderful. Thank you for that.
I'll report that back. Yes.
Yeah, and so I have an album that dropped today, which I'm excited about. It's just a little tiny Christmas album, but nevertheless, I'm excited about it. But that was an easy process for me to just copyright that as well. Vincent, can you hear me?
I can hear you very, very lightly, Peggy. How you doing?
Anything?
Can you hear me?
I'm going to introduce you at least because you took the time to be out there. So Vincent represents our music and publishing. He runs Castellucci Consulting, professional MI consulting firm, and he was the senior director, licensing and business development at Paradox Agency, the National Music Publishers Association in New York. He was executive at Polygram Records, Chapel Music Publishing, doing the world head of online publishers user systems Opus, and he worked for Warner Brothers Records and Warner Chapel Music. So he's had a lot of experience. Of course, his bio is in the app. He's an editor of over 17 books, and he's won over 47 performance awards
I think in a lot of respects, it's a grassroots level, and just one example of what we did in the collegiate context in the early days. We wanted consumers to care about universities and understand, why they were licensing the use of their marks and being involved in the process of having licensed product as opposed to unlicensed product being on the market. And that's where legal combined with public awareness, the PR group, the marketing people, they have programs. And the programs, were designed to basically say, consumer, this is a consumer issue. And when you're looking to purchase legitimate official product, look at the labels, look to the characteristics of the product that are licensed. And that had an impact because when we would, do surveys, when anecdotally, when, reporters would go out on the street and ask fans if they cared whether what they bought was licensed or unlicensed, I was very worried about those questions. But, invariably they would come back and they would say, well, yeah, the university, protects its image, they get royalties, that goes to endowment funds and bus funds at Georgia Tech and doing good things for campuses. So I think that, just education, and this is a watershed moment to a much larger degree. The work that Scott, US IPA is doing is exactly the answer to the question, which is creating a mechanism for educational and awareness programs. In my humble opinion.
And your expert opinion. I think music is much of the same, that education on the grassroots level. It's not, we don't have universities or systems in place. Most of music is done very isolated, so, and all over the world. So there are, it gets a little bit harder to communicate and educate for our industry, and we have to meet them where they are, and we have to find ways to inform at every level, whether you're a church musician or, in schools, or a touring artist or a songwriter. And so we really, I think we strive through various organizations and groups. I think the music industry is doing a much better job of late at educating. There are many organizations like SONA and the RIAA and the Recording Academy, Georgia Music Partners. We're seeing a lot more state buy-in from the different music offices around the country as well. Really trying to advocate and promote that business of protection of creative rights.
Hey, Vincent, can you hear us? You want to say something?
Peggy, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Woo!
Okay, good. Let's try it this way. The line is very low and spotty. If you can hear me, I'd like to impart some information and some thoughts to you folks. My major is the music and entertainment industry.
So, Vincent, I'm so sorry, but your feed is, you probably can't hear us. Charles, can you let him know the feed's not good? We tried, and we're so glad you're here with us, Vincent. But we cannot hear you clearly. We'll keep going. We may try again, and we got 5 minutes. So, Leo. Education.
Yeah.
Oh, time is up. Okay. We can go on and on. We can talk all day.
You want me to go ahead?
Okay. Yeah.
So, I love, I go to New Orleans and to Tilly, where I have an opportunity to be with the Boys and Girls Club. Why? They give me the PhD platform to talk at Columbia University, SPA. But that affords me to have a large scope. So the least I can do is give them the tools and resources that we can, that you, I would say, could give them, the copyright office, etc. So I guess that's about it. That art does give you a huge platform and all over the world.
we are stronger together. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting entertainment, arts, and sports. And we look forward to collaborating